Hi everyone, it's Jen with Freedom Fighters, and it's Spirited Saturdays, and this week we are talking about the diet industry, which is hugely relevant in the development and the sustaining of eating disorders. And not eating disorders, and just the warped way people look at themselves and choose to deal with their problems that have nothing to do with weight. But the diet industry makes us think that everything can be solved if we change our weight. This is all very interesting. I think the diet industry, with all its powders and potions and drinks and dissolvable mechanisms, is out to ask us some very personal questions about ourselves. It's out to make us question our core values. And here are some of the questions that I think the diet industry wants us to ask ourselves in order to feed into its money-making empire, fail its diets, and go back for more. The first question is, what can I get away with? So, if I have 2 cartons of yogurt, and one of them is full fat, and one of them is non-fat, but they taste relatively the same, and they're both kind of the same filling, they're both kind of equally filling, why wouldn't I choose the low-fat yogurt or the no-fat yogurt? What can I get away with? How can I escape excessive anything? This is a very dangerous question, because it kind of puts you in a jail. If you are following these regimens of these diet mentalities and following like the creed of the messages they're giving you, it's basically akin to living in a trailer that you never leave, and you're locked up, and all you have is like a little space, and you're just really neurotic, and you never leave, and you are locked up in your head. And maybe it's something like a trailer, but it's definitely a portable jail cell. You move around, but you don't ever leave your head. And it's a very frustrating way to live one's life, stuck in this endless circle here. But that's just the first question. What can I get away with? Then you have to figure out, right? Like, they want you to really ask yourself, what am I trying to get away with? Like, okay, what's good? What's bad? What is worthy of my indulgence? And what is not? What just means I'm out of control? What do I have to just steer clear of? And, it's a real problem that they are encouraging this system of exchanges of, give a little, sacrifice a little exchange some enjoyment for some neuroses, and you'll be okay, and you'll sustain on that. And many people do. Many people sadly sustain on this constant give and take of enjoyment versus self-monitoring, constant self-monitoring. And then diets. Diets are in and of themselves just kind of unsustainable. They're basically like projects that you go on, and what's going to happen when the project is over? What are you going to do? Just magically have you learned anything? Diets are catered to people who are asking for quick fixes, and they know that there is no such thing as a quick fix. Well, maybe there is, but it doesn't last. So there's no long-term quick fix, but that's what they're feeding on. They're feeding on people's impulsivity and need to it really, like, they're feeding on people's convictions that if they change their body, they will feel better about their life and about themselves. And so that's very upsetting. And then once you start to think a positive thought about yourself, your body, these advertisements and these products come out from hiding and stomp this positive thought that you had about yourself. It just cancels out any work that you've done, you know. So the trick is to be like other kinds of lessons that you learn in recovery. I mean, this could really apply to many things, but you have to, and what I'm trying to do is put up a boundary. Like, you could be aware that this stuff is out there and ready to eat away at you, and doesn't mean that it's going anywhere and you don't really have control over its existence. But you can put up your own boundary and decide, what am I going to let in? And what am I going to just make a statement? I mean, how can I make a statement in defiance of this ugly industry? You know, and maybe by acting according to your own, what you know what works for you. I think in recovery, at first, when you're relearning, maybe if you're in a group of people, you all have to eat the same thing at the same time. But as you go on with your recovery, you learn that this is not a uniform process. No two people are identical eaters. No one way is right for everybody. And so that's a huge lie that the diet industry tries to tell us with, like, you know, whatever, these fad diets, all of it, you know, they're trying to tell us that there's one uniform way to be. And that sucks because it's so completely warped. What happened to individuality and what happened to intuitive eating? And that's just like the antithesis of eating disorder recovery right there. So there's no textbook way of eating. And, you know, there needs to, what I feel helps me, and what I feel kind of helps me put up that boundary and create and build some strength, is to look at it as not so much as first of all, not look at it as I'm trying to lose weight. That's first for me personally. But even if I were trying to lose weight, even if for my health or something I needed to lose weight, I still would not, and which I have needed to for my health, but I still would not look at it, because the eating disorder work is from the inside out. And instead of looking at it as that kind of a project and fixing the external, you need to look at it as every single choice I make has an impact on the way I'm feeling right now. There's an immediate reward if I make a good choice for myself. And good does not just mean what they say is good. Good can mean a brownie, whatever. Good can mean so many things, because it's in the spectrum of flexibility and forming a better relationship with food overall. So I'm not talking about good as in like an apple versus a piece of cake. I hope I want to make that very clear. Yeah, so every time you make a choice that's good for your overall health, your overall well-being and mindset and recovery, that choice right there has an immediate effect. There's no waiting for that. And, you know, a typical diet mentality involves having to kind of, you know, white knuckle it until you see results, and then you can be grateful, and that's the reinforcement. But for this approach to life, it's just every single time. You don't have to wait till you look any different to feel like you made a good choice and to feel proud of yourself. So try to just remember that, you know, because it's not just the choice. It's everything that led up to that choice. It's hard to make that choice in many cases. So that it represents a lot of progress. It represents strength. And the other thing I wanted to say is that I think that a lot of these diets and people representing and like the spokespeople for the diets, they're not just teenagers, well, not teenagers, but they're not people, they're not always like hot young mamas. They're like older mamas, you know what I mean? Like they're like 50s and their 60s. What I'm talking about in particular is some of the yogurt commercials that Jamie Lee Curtis has done, Sally Field, people who are kind of coming at our parents and our mothers and saying, okay, ladies, lest you forget, image is still important. Knock, knock. Don't forget, and, teach this to your children while you're... And they do it under the guise of health, which can be very sneaky. They do it under this, like, don't get osteoporosis, so eat your so-and-so light, and you'll be great. But I think that the people behind these advertisements know full well that the people who are listening are not hearing health, they're hearing thin. And they're thinking, a lot of people are thinking probably that being healthy is just a cool, a really good, but, side effect to being thin. And that being thin is first, and that being healthy is somewhat secondary. Maybe the older you get, the more real the consequences are of having poor health. But the target of these commercials is basically, look good, ladies. Look good. And if you want to look good, you need to eat this. And these are people who are relatable. These are people who my parents watch, and they laugh, they're happy. Jamie Lee Curtis was in a magazine a few years ago, purposely sans Photoshop. Like, this is the kind of message she's put out there. So the fact that she's out there kind of promoting image in that other way is a little distressing. But, yeah. So my goal is to not worry about how the way I'm eating is affecting the way my weight fluctuates on a given day. My weight will fluctuate. I'm a woman. I'm a human. I'm in recovery from an eating disorder. I get periods. Fluctuates. So that cannot be the determining factor of the way I feel about myself. And it can't be like, must fix this now if I notice that I feel heavier on a certain day, which might not even be accurate. So what I want to try and focus on is if I have been overeating or something like that, and that's something that I struggle with. Like, I've struggled with different ends of the spectrum on this, but say I've been overeating for some reason, and it has caused me to feel a little bloated. I'm going to stop scrutinizing myself I'm not going to scrutinize myself. I'm going to stop and examine only up till the part of overeating. I'm not going to go on and say, oh my God, my body, oh my God, I have to fix this. So that's what that's what they want. No. But really, that's what these companies want us to do. They want us to look at our bodies and say, uh-oh, this needs fixing. And on the flip side, they want us to look at ourselves when we're thinner and say, I got it. Now I have to keep it. Like, score, on top of the world. But I can't move from this. So either way, we're screwed. So I want to look at my actions, examine the causes of my actions, and see how I can change my actions. Focus on that rather than any kind of minor or major, who knows, fluctuations in my body weight. Totally defeats the purpose. So that's it. That's my whole take on this. We are not flawed. We're not flawed. Remember that. These silly things, they're all money. They want, some of them are well-intentioned. I'm not saying they all suck, but don't listen to them as creed. Try and do your own thing. Take care of yourself. That's it for now. Have a great night, great week, and see you next week. Bye.